Good morning. I should say good day wherever you are. It's fair to say that I've been doing these videos now for a little over a month, and obviously this would be your first, I'm guessing. Look, I've done a lot of the other videos on the basis that people are coming to them, that maybe they've taken off, and maybe it's there's a playlist, and maybe people working through a playlist. Due to the length of them, and due to the lack of strong digestible bits like in a row, where I'm just disseminating information en masse and getting through it. There's not really that going on. I understand each video generally tries to stick to one or two topics and talk about little things and how they relate. So they're not compelling watching. And it's fair to say that we've gotten this far in, and I've discovered that YouTube doesn't just automatically guarantee that people will find and share your video if they think there's something practical or worthwhile in it. So I'm not necessarily after that. I am hoping it's a case of if 1,000 people were to watch my videos, that one person might be the catalyst for change. One person might be the person that goes out there and knows the correct people to share this onto, where all of a sudden people go, whoa, there is a very viable solution. And I'll trust that you're a new audience, a solution for world peace right now or in our lifetimes. And look, my motivation for when I started doing these videos, and so I'll give this video like, you're that person. Thank you. The motivation for doing these videos was based on world events at the time, and that there's no more time necessarily up my sleeve, or there was no more runway, I guess, before we took off as a world population towards changing a direction. And so look, to say that in the course of 1 month is quite small in the course of the human race, I'm not disappointed that I haven't been discovered, because if I was being true of myself, I would say I haven't been pressing myself. I generally put it in the hands of the universe each day, and I might put up a link in one place to see how that place does. And I've actually found in the course of doing that staying true to one or two channels hasn't necessarily had any clickers, any real interest. And then I put on one channel, and I probably on a regular basis get a click on a video. So I learnt that from a job I did. You should always ask when somebody calls up, what did you hear about us? How'd you find out about us? You know, you got to figure out if your marketing channels are working for you. So, good business sense, really. Good business logic. And if I'm trying to bring about world peace, I'm going to have to use good business logic, I figure. So I don't really want to be the person who brings about world peace. It sounds like a burden. It sounds like a lot of work. But I think it's also a lot of fun. And I think when we look at the motivations for it, it's about being able to avoid a lot of fear. And it's about ultimately trying to raise the quality of life for everybody. Now, I have pitched in other videos, and it almost sounds like buzzwords, or if it's a repeating statement, why am I so determined to keep saying that I'm guaranteeing jobs and living arrangements for the homeless, and jobs alone, I mean, if for the unemployed is covered, and I talk about covering the elderly's needs. These are primary sectors, three areas, I should say, that world governments desperately need to have taken care of for them. So I would think that's a good enough hook to get people to be interested. And then in other videos I've talked about the beautiful ways in which we generate income streams, and how there's 3 or 4 primary income streams, and that none of them really, they're not dirty like a lot of the ways that the present world has propped itself up for making large amounts of cash. And so the fact that we've got such pure income streams, and I've talked in other videos about associative energies, and anything we practice we get better at, and talk about the way that you start out, generally it might be the way that you continue. So I'm trying to go for an aspect of integrity and ethics at every step of trying to set up a charity or a not-for-profit for the people, for everybody, to distributive wealth, and to share the income streams, and to really prop up the creatives, and by that prop up everybody. But I just find that if we're in a society where we deal with the underlying fear structures in the mindset of the people, that we sort of then we sublimate or we refine the happiness that is capable of being found in people to just being quicker and being more genuine, more in the moment. And I feel that when you prop your creatives up in an environment where everyone's just that little bit happier and everyone's a lot less fearful, and there's no negative repercussions for accountability, which is just massive, because when we try to sweep things under the rug, the way that can multiply out does get worse. Now, I find that amusing, because it's not really amusing. I find that troubling. I don't know. I can't say I find it whimsical. If I laugh, it's a nervous laugh. It's when I started doing these videos, it was about the 2nd of February, and it was done on the motivation of I could see some of the world events that were likely to play out in the short term, and nothing's really happened in the course of the last month. People would say that massive things have happened, but versus the things that are still going to play out in 3 months. And there'll be some big revelations that are going to come out in the next 3 months, and 6 months, and a year, and 3 years, and as the timeline goes on, other people will start to realise that the time for change and the time for action towards peace, positive change, I'd love to coin that term, but I can't own it. Positive change is something that's always existed, and it's just a decision. And I quoted one of my favourite authors once, and C.S. Lewis, and when people look at his books, what they say is that the difference in the way he wrote is that people are on a journey, and that at any point they can change their course, they can change their actions. People aren't inherently good or inherently evil, but we have the decision. And so this video, if you're watching it, you have a decision. You have a decision to keep watching. And I could have thrown all that in the first minute. That would have been a grab, for all those people that click through. And, if I put a funky little, graphic on the front of the video so that I might bait people into watching it. I don't want to do that. I want the energy associated to it to be genuine and decorous. So I'm really hoping that you've come here on the basis that you're looking for a solution for world peace. And please watch the rest of the videos, because they mostly will cover that. I'm sticking to the stream of consciousness format because it keeps me genuine. It keeps people being able to watch me genuine. And if you've watched any other videos, you know that I don't believe I alone are the person to bring about world peace. I have stated repeatedly that I've been given the vision for it, I've seen it, I've lived it in a dreamland, and at such detail and such ways that it was precognitive. It wasn't my dream. And however that was gifted to me, or however it was that came about, for my thought structures to be able to interpret a model for living. And I did. I saw myself behind desks, signing off on decisions with people, other people, lots of people involved. And I found that the scale of it rolling out, sure, I might represent somebody who consults with a body, and that would be a model that rolls out here in Australia. And I like to think that even just not for the notion of bringing about world peace, that's just a fantasy heading really, but in the day-to-day nitty-gritty that leads up to making it happen, it's really just about providing people the things that they need, which is, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's making sure that people have shelter and food, basic things, and then they might work on themselves. There might be some social needs that they have, and what we find is that people are better off when they're propped up, that they can be in their best self. And ultimately, I'd like to create a workforce of people where we all prop each other up, we prop ourselves up to be in our best self state. And I've pitched in other videos that the idea is to work less hours and to have a wider working life, where we give a little bit when we're younger and we work a little bit into our older age, but that we do so with joy, and we do so again through distributive wealth, so that the skill sets we build up over the course of our life, being able to give them back more for longer is ideally better. Now, I do talk about the roles and how easy I'd like them to be, and the aspects of redundancy, and there's reasons for that. And in part it's just so that you can have a workforce that can make changes towards their own happiness as need be regularly, and that nobody's ever forced, arguably, to do things. You use the changing pay structures, of course, to make more positions lucrative in time periods, to if you're having a shortfall in a given area or industry sector, I should say. But there's lots of ways, and that sort of stuff I try not to get to the nitty-gritty of in any range of videos. I feel that should be specific, and given none of these are at the quality of being handbooks for a working population, that I don't put the onus or the burden of that message into these videos. I'd rather keep these fun and short or on topic to small topics. And so where I've done 2 review videos in the course of a month, where I've made more friends with the camera and I feel more comfortable in front of a camera, I've sort of then gone back and tried to zip the message down into a short video where if somebody was to jump in there, that would be them, and I've actually moved them to the front of the playlist. So if you do find this video and you go to the comment section underneath it, I'll put a link to the playlist, and that way you've got something to go off on. Now, as I say, I am troubled by the world events I've seen that are starting to unfold, and I don't wish to be. I feel energy flows where attention goes, and I feel that I should be focused on my own navel and my own hand, and doing things of practical worth. And on a daily basis, I generally have been trying to do that. Now, I have gone a couple of days without making videos, and some of those days I've been making videos, I've been making them for other sectors, if you will, other people. I've been trying to reach out to Member for Legislative Assembly, Member for Parliament, various political figures in my country. And my apologies, I think that almost makes me want to sneeze. That could be the ineffective use of time that I've found either emailing or physically going to visit various people, and you might think that qualifies that the value of my message is very low calibre, of low worth, but I assure you that it's never really been picked up by anybody or watched by anybody who's been in a position of power and a position of making them happen. Obviously I only got as far as front desks when dealing with members of Parliament in various places, and that's on a good day. Generally I don't even feel I get that far. And I mean, I've been physically going to locations, but of course I never get to meet the people involved. So look, I'm a range of what you could say is failings. And I say I'm failing because I haven't been able to get this message out in a more practical sense. But look, the worth is on me. I obviously could edit my videos, and I could use all sorts of fancy graphics, and there's things I can do to get myself on the watch list of more people. Look, I think that's when I'm ready to do that. I think we need to be ready for a stage 2 intake at that point. I'd like to think that if these videos were to go critical mass in a community of people that are pro-planet or already have a working sense of structure and a working ability to communicate easily with each other, and therefore discuss the worth of said videos, whether there's possibility to make something about them come about, that I'd like to think that a tier 1 body, I don't want to say structure, but an aspect of people would be able to come together and we'd be able to get something ready to go, so that we'd be able to build better videos and have a little bit of admin in place for being able to start the second stage. And it's not really until what I perceive as stage 3 where we've gone true critical mass, where we're really able to work with all of the population and really make things take off. But at this point I'm just trying to get watched by, maybe a documentary filmmaker, or maybe somebody who's got contacts to politics, or somebody, even media, because as the income streams have gone, I've gone on to mention that a large part of what I'd like to do is to build a soundstage and to make beautiful sets, but not sets to be knocked down and destroyed, but sets that have an ongoing purpose of serving the function of being shelter. So if you make an Ewok village or an Elven village or something, Hobbit holes, if you will, that the sets can actually go on to be dwellings, that we don't have waste every step of the way. And it might be that they're tourism, it might be there's a range of ways to reutilise them. But obviously that means that I want the ability to focus. Because if you've got creative artisans and people that want to make great products, even for housing, you want them... I want the ability to give them that outlet right from the get-go. And so I guess I need to have contracts ready to go with possibly TV networks, or more so some of the pay TV structures, I would think. Try not to mention names. I never try to be brand specific. I like to be platform agnostic, I guess, across the board. But I guess for me it comes down to is we need ultimate health. And my apologies, I typically start a timer. I'm a bit late on the board on that one. We need to address, for me it's always been about preventative maintenance. So I'm going to tangent away for a second and talk about, again, this is sort of like an overview, but it's more about why does this stuff matter and why is it important that we get onto this and we get onto this now. And ultimately, there's nothing in the current world system that props anything else that's sustainable in the long term for we the people. And so many aspects of what I would like to bring about is all about improving the quality of life. And that means basically looking after ourselves better in the first instance. And in part of that, it's reactionary, you could say, to present world events, but the vision's been with me for a couple of decades. And so a lot of what I would say would look like it's perfect for the current mindset of the people, the way that they think and feel and the solutions that they'd be looking for. And I guess a fear-based population are looking for solutions to their own personal problems, their own personal dramas. And so look, there are ideas I can pitch, but it's always been about the notion of having smaller community zones and letting everybody vote or choose the things they want. There's essentially a lot of freedoms. You prop people up to live in accordance to their value systems, the way they wish to believe. But I think you would find that people generally would like to be in sectors or groups where there's a lot of people with like-minded values around them. And as long as you give communities, I think it's 150 to 300 people, gives you the diversifications of the skill sets that you need at a minimum to survive in smaller communities. And there are bigger support structures just down, I want to say the road, but it'd be just down the monorail. And primarily a lot of farming and things going on. So really what we're wanting to do is to reclaim a lot of land that might be somewhat worthless and turn it to high value land by building up on it and creating structures and populations. And there's a lot of ways to make wealth generating wealth. But when we've got community structures of say 300 odd and relative safety from just people being able to wander through there, that they've got that aspect of privacy almost, but certainly aspects of security or safety, that everybody seems to want to build walls around themselves in the present world set, and society isn't better for that. We're better for the strength in numbers that we have. So I talk about rolling out a model in Australia, but I do feel that if we have parallel rollouts all around the world, that there's always then the exchange, barter credits, if you will, going between said individual cells of said charity. But it's charity in the sense that when people hear that, they go, oh, if you're not for profit, you're doing it for tax breaks and other reasons. And it's certainly not to avoid propping up government. Everything about this is actually to prop up governments, to ensure that silly decisions aren't made and for short-term gains when we need to make longer-term plays. And I find that government isn't in the power to do that because it's attractive in 4-year blocks for politicians to make their policies and their promises come true. And so it looks like, and government's also having a hard time regulating private sectors because private sectors, the fines never seem to match the dirty tactics that they can use to make profit. So what we're finding is that governments as a regulating body for the people just isn't really protecting people as quick or as mass as they need. So these are the sorts of things that I try not to point out in my videos because I believe you don't point out failings, you offer solutions. And I guess if a lot of people watch my videos and aren't of a mindset where they understand how important